Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Cinema Wave podcast here at the Culture 8 Media Network, and we are back in full swing of festival season. This one was requested by our very own Zach Miller, and so excited to discuss the highlights and review of the 2025 Cannes Film Festival. I'm going to be one of your hosts for this episode. My name is Darian Zach, and of course, I'm with the aforementioned Zach Miller.
Hey, what's going on, man?
What's up, brother? So we didn't get to attend Cannes. Hopefully one day. That'd be fun, right? Just get to go over to France and see some of these films. But this is one of the more prestigious film festivals, and it kind of jumpstarts that festival season for films to look out for later in the year, foreign language films. But the biggest thing for me with this year, before we go into the winners and some of the top things for me personally, and I'm curious on if you saw any of this, Zach, and because it was a big thing in the news, but all of the mid-major studios, the indie studios that are on the up and coming, like Mubi, Neon, A24, they were like heavy in this festival this year, which is not that they haven't bought an occasional title here and there. Like you see Sundance do the same thing, and Netflix comes in and they buy some prestige titles. But like a lot of movies got snatched up to kind of fill these theatrical releases later in the year. And Mubi, obviously, they have their own streaming service, and they had their biggest success ever last year with The Substance. So I'm curious your thoughts on that trend that we started to see in this market and kind of where they're going with it. Like Mubi in particular, like I'd have to look at the exact number, but I think they purchased like 5 movies from the festival.
Just at this festival?
Yes, which is crazy. That's like almost their entire slate. You know what I mean? Like they're only going to have another probably 3 movies, and they've already put out a couple of movies this year. I know the one film they did early in the year you saw, and I think you enjoyed, with Christopher Abbott and Barry Keoghan.
Oh yeah, that was great.
Yeah, Bring Them Down, right? That's what it's called? Yeah, and I wanted to check that out, but I haven't had a chance yet. But your thoughts on that and the way the market is kind of changing with those mid-level studios and like those niche kind of indie up-and-comers.
Yeah, I think this is really where they thrive, because this is like a marketplace system for a lot of people that haven't bought a film yet, and those are all distributors that are looking for something that falls in line with all of those. Neon has a reputation now for probably the better part of a decade or over a decade, and they've had very big hits over the years. But I think that it's really important that these types of festivals keep happening. Cannes is like top 3 in the world, and then there's like Venice, there's Berlin, there's all these other European festivals that garner so much attention. The Americans bring what they can, but honestly, like this is really the European hub for people. Like the American distributors will go overseas, find a lot of great things, and then they will buy and bid on things that we want to distribute in America and that kind of sense. And even the distributors like Mubi, I'm very excited that they are an up and coming streamer that is really focused on like art house movies for the most part. I've gone through their catalog like lightly, but a lot of them are very independent films. They have a lot of deeper themes. They're a little bit more thought provoking than popcorn flicks and that kind of thing. I'm sure they'll delve into blockbusters at some point, but for now, Mubi is kind of adjacent to like a Criterion for people who don't know.
100%.
So I think it's really cool. But Mubi is like, it's not the established Criterion. Criterion is like Library of Congress, like. That is our prestige. Like these are the things that people hold on to. But Mubi is like, hey, these are worth looking at, and these are from all over the world, and these are independent, and they're not all big people with big names. So I think that's really cool.
Well, I think so. I agree with what you're saying. I do think that their image is changing a bit, though, with what they were able to do with The Substance, even if they didn't intend for The Substance to kind of be what it was. Like I think it was a movie that originally, I think it must have cost like $10 million to make, and I think it made like 65 million or something like that. So it like more than it like more than 6 times its budget. And that was also not that it played like a popcorn movie, but it's a body horror movie. You know what I mean? And it did bigger numbers than what like even like what Cronenberg would do nowadays, who's like the body horror director. And there was another article that came out recently, and I think it was Hollywood Reporter that did a whole cover story with the CEO of Mubi, that they're now valuated at like $1 billion company, which is crazy to think about because, like you said, they focus so much on like those niche, more art house and a lot of foreign language films. And with the Substance, it kind of broke them into this different mold where they were going to do more theatrical. And they winded up getting one of the films that they winded up purchasing at the festival was Die My Love, which has Robert Pattinson and Jennifer Lawrence as the leads.
The Lynn Ramsey movie?
Yeah, the Lynn Ramsey movie, which they're two profitable, like, big stars that also do well at the box office. So having that movie be released in theaters for whatever the budget for that might be, it's probably a smaller budgeted movie, that might wind up doing better numbers for them because you have somebody like Robert Pattinson that has had success in franchises like Twilight, and he's played Batman, and now he's going to be in The Odyssey. And then Jennifer Lawrence, obviously, with The Hunger Games, and she's an Oscar winner, and she can sell big budget comedies with no hard feelings. You know what I mean? So that's the interesting thing to me, that like the coming away of this festival. And Forbes actually has an article that came out a couple days ago that says Neon Movie A24, the buyers that won Cannes 2025.
Okay.
So it's like that being the storyline coming out of it, transitioning into the winners of the festival. Like the first, the Palme d'Or winner was a film called It Was Just an Accident, and Neon purchased that film. And you were nice enough to note it, and I know it was a big thing in the news this week, that it is the 6th consecutive Palme d'Or winner from Neon, which is
in years, like 6 consecutive years. Is crazy.
It's wild. And when you look at the names that are on this list, I'm pretty sure all of them, with the exception of one, were nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards, which is also crazy to think about. So last year, just going over them really quick, last year they had Anora, which obviously was the Best Picture winner. The year before that, they had Anatomy of a Fall, which I would say was probably the biggest breakout of Oscar season in 2023. 2022, you had Triangle of Sadness, which was one of the smaller scale ones, but it still winded up getting a screenplay nom, and I think it got a picture nom, plus a Best Supporting Actress. Titane was the only one that did not get nominated for Best Picture. And then they have another Best Picture winner with Parasite, Bong Joon-ho's film that is one of, in my opinion, one of the best films in recent memory to win Best Picture. So coming off of that and then acquiring this film that I feel like you did probably a little bit more deep dive on the research of the film, but it was just an accident. It's called, the director is Jafar Panahi. From what you read about it, do you think that this could be another contender for Neon going forward? And how do you think it kind of got to that Palme d'Or level for the festival?
I think it's, especially from what I was reading about the film, I think it's definitely got a shot in award season. Maybe even Golden Globes. I think it, like we were just talking about I'm Still Here the other day, and that's another international film that was recognized at the Golden Globes and the Oscars. So given the reputation that it's kind of slowly getting, a lot of people are looking forward to this. Jafar Panahi is an Iranian filmmaker, and he's been making films since the 80s. And a lot of what's interesting about him is he's a great director. I've seen one of his films, and I think it's called The Mirror, and he is just like really good at telling personal stories. He's been making movies since the 80s, and what I found out is that he has been secretly making movies to hide from the Iranian government because of censorship and expression, and a lot of the subject matter might have to do with government or oppression in the country or personal stories that the government does not like. And I think it's really compelling that he took the courage to do something like this. From what I was getting out of the reception from Cannes, I don't know a lot about the film. There was a lot of spoilers online, and I didn't want to pass that on for people in this episode. But the premise is kind of centered around his inspiration of his imprisonment by the Iranian government, and he was let out in 2023, and basically he has to go like off the grid every now and then and secretly make his movies and then ship them places secretly, which is insane that a director has to do that.
It's still a crazy process.
So I give him a lot of credit, and I don't know a lot more. I'm not going to say anything else about the film, and I'm going to just keep it light, but I really do think that this is something that a lot of people are gravitating towards, and clearly it's another like milestone achievement for him in his career. He's been making movies for like about 40 years or more in his career. So I think it's really like something that if you're interested in international movies, it's worth checking out. He's got a long history, and it's a very important film, and it's very resonant for a lot of audiences all over the world. So
yeah, for sure. It's also going to have, like I said, that bigger theatrical release with Neon kind of championing it behind it, and it's going to kind of again, I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of make a big awards push for it. So you can check that out eventually. There are no release dates yet for these films, but Sentimental Value, which was the
Grand Prix.
the Grand Prix winner, I believe was also purchased by Neon. I think there was another Neon purchase. And this was one that I saw like a lot of reception online for. And Renate Rensby, who's she was in what was that film that came out a couple years ago that people loved? The Worst Person in the World.
Yeah.
Which I unfortunately haven't had a chance to see. But she made her American debut with A Different Man last year with Sebastian Stan and Adam Pearson. And I thought she was really good in that film. And everyone's like, she's, again, one of the best leading women in international cinema right now and just in cinema in general. But they were like, Stellan Skarsgård might steal the movie from her, which is crazy. And I don't think you're not watching Andor, correct?
I haven't caught up on it. Yeah, no.
But Stellan, like Mark and I were talking for weeks just about like how welcome his presence is in Star Wars and just the prestige that he brings to every project he's a part of. This is one with a simple premise of an intimate exploration of family memories and reconciliatory power of art. It's broad, but it's something where I feel like what Joachim Trier is going to be able to do is make it such a personal story, and that's why I'm really looking forward to that film.
Yeah. I mean, I heard Stellan and I was like, all right, I'm in. He is like so talented. He's been around the industry. He's a very familiar face for people who, a lot of people don't know his name, and he has 4 sons that are doing incredible work too.
It's crazy. Their lineage is like so ridiculous.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think like if you didn't know his name, that's okay. You would still be like, oh, that's that guy from Pirates of the Caribbean, or like that's like he's had so many good roles, and I'm glad that he's finally getting leading performances in movies in the last like 5 to 7 years. Like I'd have to look back at his work again, but I feel like he's been more in the conversation, and especially because of Andor too, because it finally hit that like mainstream audience. Like people are like, whoa, this guy's really good at leading roles. It's like, yeah, bro, he's been around for a while.
Yeah.
But it's good that he's doing a mixture of both. He's doing the art house stuff, and he's doing blockbuster TV. And then, he's going to do other American tentpole movies and that kind of thing. So he's just always attached to the work the most. And like you said, he really just delivers in his performances every single time.
Yeah, he's one of our finest actors. I'm really excited to see that movie when that comes out as well. But Neon also got the rights to one of the other films that was, I believe it was the audience, like one of the audience favorites, the joint jury prize.
It was split. Yeah, so they had 2 winners for that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
But Sirat was one of the films that they acquired. The Secret Agent, which I believe, as of the time of this recording, on Rotten Tomatoes from the critics that saw the film, it's at 100%. Alpha, which is Julia Ducournau's follow-up to Titan. Splitsville, which is a romantic comedy that also stars Adria Arjona and Dakota Johnson, and Raoul Peck's Orwell 2 + 2 = 5. So Neon walks out of the festival with 7 movies. So they fill their slate with more art house type stuff, more things to kind of supplement their horror based stuff that they've done now with now the director's I'm losing it. I'm having brain fog right now.
Horror stuff?
Yeah, what's it? He did The Monkey. Osgood Perkins.
Oh, Osgood. Yeah.
And like supplementing the rest of their slate with kind of these art house things. With all the ones that I just brought up, were there any that are standouts to you that you're looking forward to of the rest of Neon's acquisitions?
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to probably the biggest one that surprised me that was a winner at the festival was The Secret Agent. And the film won Best Actor, and Wagner Moura took home the leading role, the Best Actor award, and the Best Director went to Kleber Mendoza Filho, and just for the film to garner that much attention is really cool. And for anybody who doesn't know, the premise of that movie is in 1977, a technology expert flees from a mysterious past and returns to his hometown of Recife in search of peace. He soon realizes that the city is far from being the refuge he seeks. And everything that I was reading online gives you like a immersive 70s political thriller or thriller just in general. And thinking about Wagner Moura kind of back in that genre a little bit after Narcos, like ever since I've seen him in Narcos, I've wanted him to get every leading role imaginable. And I think he's only gotten a handful of what he deserves. And when I'm really happy that he's winning something at Cannes too. That means that a lot of people are like, you got to check this out. So Secret Agent is at the top of my list for now.
Yeah, I would agree. That would be my pick too. I think totally in agreement with you. I'm a huge Narcos fan. I love everything that creative team has done, even since Narcos, including Wagner Moura. I also loved him in Mr. and Mrs. Smith. He has a great supporting role in the series on Amazon, where you get to kind of see his comedic chops as well and working with kind of different talent. And I think this is going to be a bit like, not that, I mean, him as Pablo Escobar obviously was a breakout, but this is going to catapult. Like, I think based on what I've heard, this is going to be one of the bigger contenders this year already for best lead actor at the Oscars.
Okay.
So I'm really excited to see what they put behind this movie. I love the crime genre in general. I love a period piece with crime, and kind of seeing the double side that he's going to have to do with playing a secret agent. I think that it's going to be a really interesting project. And like you said, it already has the prestige with winning best director and best actor at the Cannes jury. So I think that there's a lot to like with this movie. I think it could also kind of appeal to other audiences because a lot of people like the crime genre and there hasn't been a lot of consistently good crime stuff in the theater in a while. Again, it's a foreign language movie, I think, but it also mixes English as well in it. So I do hope that people get a chance to check it out. And Neon's just building this crazy good slate. Like there's just, they have a diverse array of things. When you have more intimate dramas, you have these outlandish crime movies, you have romantic comedy with Splitsville, which is another one that seemed like a crowd pleaser. So there's a lot to like, obviously, from this festival that we're talking about so far. One of the other ones you brought up was The Sound of Falling, which kind of, like you said, it was a tie with Sirat for the joint jury prize. And I've heard a lot about that as well. And in relation to it could be like this year's Zone of Interest. It could be something where you're dealing with a lot of trauma and the generational aspect of it. Again, it's another German produced film. And that was one that was also picked up by Mubi. So I don't know if you heard anything else about that movie or if there were some other ones in particular that we haven't touched on yet that you've heard about or you read about that you're really excited for going forward out of Cannes.
Yeah, I think you mentioned Sirat too, and I think so. Sound of Falling is definitely on my list as well. But Sirat, going back to the crime genre a little bit too, it's probably, from what I'm understanding, less of a straight crime movie, but more of a father goes searching for his kidnapped daughter. Because the premise that we have is a father accompanied by his son goes looking for his missing daughter in North Africa. So I'm assuming that she is kidnapped or she's missing, and it was getting a great reception from what we heard. So I'm always interested in that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's definitely a standout for me. Sound of Falling, I agree. I could see it being Zone of Interest or what's another good one? I'm just thinking of Terrence Malick, but A Hidden Life. That was like Nazi Germany, but it was very like intimate. It wasn't about Nazi Germany really. It was about the effect that it had on this one family. So maybe something like that. But they focus on the emotional toll of the family. So that's always interesting to me too. I really like the character pieces and familial turmoil movies, I guess. Not that that's a great subject, but you know,
well, I think
it's entertaining.
It's good. It's good to see again those filmmaking techniques kind of come out in movies like this. You know, like everybody loves a good time at the movies. Like we were just talking before we started recording, and we're gonna record after this our review for Mission Impossible, which actually premiered at Cannes, which is funny. But like Lilo and Stitch is like a fun time at the movies. With a lot of the subject matter that we get at Cannes is the exact opposite of that, but it's still an experience. It's kind of.
So you're saying Lilo and Stitch is Sound of Falling at Cannes?
I think seeing Stitch in Nazi Germany would be interesting.
Yo, that's what we've been missing this whole time. Take him out of Hawaii, put him in Nazi Germany.
That's our prequel. Yeah. That's our prequel series. Great. That would be upset.
I'm in. Lilo and Stitch too.
That's so ridiculous. No way. However, this is called the transition, Zach. Let's talk about another remake.
Okay.
All right. Kurosawa's High and Low.
Okay. Yeah.
Gets remade, and it's been a movie that I know since it was announced. One of our co-hosts here at the network, Vinny, loves High and Low. You've seen High and Low as well, right?
Oh, that's like one of my favorite movies.
Yeah,
ever.
I think you and Vinny, it's one of your favorites ever. So this time we get a new Spike Lee joint. It's been a little while. When was the last movie he made?
Probably The Five Bloods.
Yeah, I was trying to think if there was one in between that.
I think.
But yeah, I think you're right. Because The Five Bloods was after BlacKkKlansman, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he hasn't made a movie in 3 years.
He hasn't made one with Denzel since Inside Man.
Yeah, and so this is his first collab with Denzel in almost 20 years. Not only that, but we also get the acting debut of A$AP Rocky, who's getting a lot of actual like rave reviews for his performance in this. But it's more of like, again, a modern take. I think it's more of a reimagining rather than a direct remake, obviously, of Kurosawa's movie. Okay. I haven't had a chance to see High and Low. Okay. But for someone who has seen it, talk to me about your excitement or your trepidation going into what we might see, which this one is getting a theatrical release and it's going to be on Apple for streaming.
Yeah. I think, well, in particular, I have more trepidation about Spike Lee remaking it more than anything, given the reception for his remake of Oldboy. And Oldboy was a Korean masterpiece. It's like probably one of the best international movies that it's very violent. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone really. It's just something that is so twisted and the plot twists are crazy.
Yeah.
So for him to follow that up and try and remake that in an American audience was a challenge, and it was not taken well. So I think I have more trepidation of him taking something that is already so great and putting his own spin on it. From what I've heard, like you said, I think he's kind of doing something a little bit more inspired by High and Low than completely derivative, which I am all for. The trailer looked good from what I saw. I really trust Denzel more than anybody in this kind of collaboration, especially with him and Spike. Like, they've worked together so much that they have a good idea of what they need to achieve. My only, like, The Five Bloods for me was good. I just felt like there were some parts with the story that it kind of fell apart for me, and it kept me not as engaged in certain parts of the movie. So with Highest to Lowest, though, like, it's really, if they follow the same plot line from the original, it's really like a child is kidnapped from this wealthy businessman, and he's held for ransom, and he's kind of going on through this series of challenges and pursuits to find him and get the police on him or get on the tail and that kind of thing. So I'm also very interested to see who A$AP plays. He might be one of the antagonists, given what I'm thinking, because Denzel is going to be our lead guy. So yeah, I'm really interested, but I am skeptical because it's such a highly regarded movie.
Yeah. We also have, on top of that, Jeffrey Wright is also in the movie, who I love. There's some other, Rick Fox, former basketball player, is also in the movie. Ice Spice is in the movie. So very interesting.
Ice
Spice, a very interesting and eclectic cast that Spike Lee is bringing together for that one. So we'll have to see what happens with that. But
all right.
We'll see. We don't know.
Like Ice Spice, Ice Spice throws me off a little bit.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I'm thrown off by everything she does in her everyday life. So there you go. But another big name director doing something that is off the beaten path of what they usually do is Nouvelle Vague, which was recently acquired from Netflix for $4 million. It's a Richard Linklater movie. He's worked with Netflix now a few times, but this is a biopic of the making of Jean-Luc Godard's Breathless, but the whole film is in French. Which is interesting again for Linklater doing a fully French movie. Zoe Deutsch is one of the leads. I'm a big fan of Linklater's filmography. Yeah. I really like that he takes a lot of chances and does a lot of different stuff with all of his movies. Like you can't tell me that like you would see that the same director doing School of Rock would also do like Bernie. Like it's just so different in terms of that. And then like again, Boyhood is the same as someone who would do Dazed and Confused and an Orson Welles biopic. Like he's done a lot of different things in his career. Yeah. He has a lot of films in his filmography. So that's one that I'm looking forward to. And I guess we'll kind of see what happens with that. I don't know your thoughts on Linklater and what he could do potentially with Nouvelle Vague.
Yeah, I thought that was super interesting. I guess it's a really compelling story to be following the making of Breathless. I watched Breathless for the first time a little while ago, and it's very Jean-Luc Godard. Like it's very art house for him, but he's doing a lot, like saying a lot with not that he doesn't need that much to say a lot with his movies. He's just very inspired by sentimental values and just super introspective things. Like it's hard to surmise all of his work. I haven't really studied a lot of it, to be honest, but I really enjoy his stuff. Breathless, I didn't enjoy as much as maybe like 400 Blows or something, but I like that he's doing something very off the beaten path, like you were kind of saying. I really like Linklater for being a chameleon and taking on different stories and having a couple of collaborators, but then he goes and jumps to another thing. He did Boyhood,
yes,
right, and then he also did the Before trilogy.
Yes, he did.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean,
plus School of Rock, dude, which is like that's a family classic movie. Plus Dazed and Confused, like he's just done, like you said, chameleon's a great way to describe him because. If you close your eyes and I gave you like again, like before the Before trilogy and Boyhood, you could be like, yeah, I could totally see that director making that. But then it's like something as intimate as the Before trilogy and then comparing it to School of Rock. It's like, how do they correlate? You know what I mean? He's also done animation. True. He's done rotoscope. Like he's experimented with different genres of filmmaking, different mediums, and that's why I'm always intrigued by what he's going to do next because you can't really put your finger on what's going to be next for him as a director. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. So I think he's like he is somebody that everybody should keep watching. Like he's a very bankable director. You know, you're going to kind of get a very original film and something that's digestible for people at home. Although when you have Jean-Luc Godard's Breathless and it's fully French and it's black and white, that's gonna lead some people astray from what his usual audience is. But I think for art house people or people interested in art house like us, it's a really cool pivot that I'm excited to see him do.
Yeah, it's intriguing that it's gonna be on Netflix too.
Yeah,
like that's one that it's going to be like, how are they going to market that movie? Like you're talking about, like, I don't know if that's going to be one where like the masses are going to go to it, but you know what? Maybe they're affected by it in a different way. Maybe that leads to them going and seeing Breathless for the first time.
I think that this is just like an attempt to like it's probably not, it's not solely an attempt, but like it's a good story for him to do and also get award recognition maybe, or this is like his good shot at trying to cover something like that. Because if Zoe turns in a great performance and it's about a very famous film, like Hollywood loves reflexive movies. They love talking about like the process of making movies and that kind of thing. Even like The Fabelmans with Spielberg recently, like they love that kind of energy. So it could be like good Oscar bait if it's a good film. So hopefully this is another art house like Netflix movie that they just want to get in the award conversation again. But
yeah, definitely, for sure. Going back to the Mubi slate, because there's a lot there. One, they're obviously big fans of Josh O'Connor because they bring in 2 Josh O'Connor movies. They bring in History of Sound, which is a gay World War I romance film with him and Paul Mescal, 2 of the biggest young actors today.
Yeah.
We also have The Mastermind, which is another 1970s set crime movie, directed by Kelly Reichardt, also acquired by Mubi. Josh O'Connor, I haven't seen much of because I haven't watched further enough into The Crown, but I loved him in Challengers. Challengers, one of my favorite movies of last year. Paul Mescal's another one. I really literally have only seen him in Gladiator 2 and one other project, The Lost Daughter. So I haven't exposed myself enough to them as artists, but I am intrigued to see them share the screen together in History of Sound. But The Mastermind, to me, so Kelly Reichardt is a director that all of her movies are on my watch list, and I just haven't had a chance to see any of them yet. But I think this is probably her starriest cast in terms of like, she's basically bringing together the Avengers of character actors.
Really?
Is how I feel it is. So it's like any actor that like stands out to me in projects in the past are in this movie. So Josh O'Connor is the lead, is one. John Magaro, who's been doing like great work for so many years, and he was obviously one of the leads in Past Lives, and he's like an indie darling now. He's going to be in this movie. Bill Camp, who is like so good at everything he does. I mean, he's great in Queen's Gambit. He's great in The Night Of. Like, so many things that he does. Gabby Hoffman, who was my favorite part of Transparent, which I did watch all of when Prime Video first started in television. I thought she was great in Winning Time. Plus, you have Alana Haim in her first role since Licorice Pizza. Renzi Feliz, who is a breakout for The Penguin. So, like, there's a really intriguing cast here. And again, it's like a crime movie from a female director set in the 70s with a really interesting cast. So that is probably one of my most anticipated movies coming out of the festival. So in terms of the rest of the stuff that Mubi got kind of brought in, they also brought in, again, Die My Love is another one that we talked about a little bit.
Yeah.
They paid a lot of money for that movie. They paid $24 million for the rights to distribute. But again, you have Robert Pattinson, you have Jennifer Lawrence. They're relying on that. Sissy Spacek is also in that movie. It's a Lynn Ramsey film. Nick Nolte is also a part of the cast who we don't see as much anymore. So between the rest of the movie kind of slate, are you excited to see their slate for 2025? And out of the 3, if you had to pick one, if you had the money to spend and they're like, you get to see only one of these movies, which is the one that you're going to say?
Okay. Ooh, that's a tough one.
Challenging.
I would say The Mastermind. Jesus. The Mastermind, because I really like I saw a couple stills of Josh O'Connor in the 70s and that kind of thing, with the heist and just the stuff that they like. I'm a sucker for a heist movie. That's like one of my genres that I will just like watch. Good, bad ones, like anything. I just think that they're always a fun time, always like really original. And yeah, so I think Mastermind is a good one. But you know, Die My Love, I really like the pairing of Robert Pattinson and Jennifer Lawrence. Like, I think that's really bankable. I do think that is going to be up to the reviews to see how it performs at the box office. And so far it's got a 6.6 out of 10 on IMDb, but there's only like a couple hundred reviews on there. So I would take that with a grain of salt. But I think that movie has a lot of good potential, and it's Lynn Ramsey. So if they have a good performance and the screenplay is concrete, I think they could also get Oscar noms if they nail it. I think it's just an Oscar conversation, just with the pairing. But yeah, so we'll see. I mean, Mubi is really stepping it up though, and I'm really excited that they are taking the leaps. And they have the capital to take the leaps at these kind of marketplaces. And clearly they're delivering. And I think they obviously want to compete with Neon given their reputation.
100%. I think the cool thing with what they're doing too is not only that they're kind of beefing up theatrical, but they have a streaming service. So literally, naturally, all their movies, they don't need to license out to a Netflix. They don't need to license it out to a Max. They don't need to license it out to a Hulu. If you are a fan of the art and you're a fan of these movies and you want to see them, You're going to hopefully get to see them in your cities if you're not in the big cities of New York and Los Angeles. Now with Mubi kind of getting behind them, but also you can subscribe to Mubi and you can check out some of these movies, which was how that's how I saw The Substance, because I missed it in theaters. So I subscribed to Mubi and I was like, I'm so upset that I missed this movie in the theaters because it's so good. And now I subscribe to Mubi. So I'm excited to see, like you said, I'm excited to see what happens going forward with them. A24 is another one that I think all of us at the network are fans of. Not of every single movie they release, because now they're kind of putting out a lot.
Yeah.
And their slate is interesting to me because Highest to Lowest, we also talked about. They're a co-producer on that movie with Apple. So they will distribute that as well in theaters. Pilion, which won the screenplay award at Cannes, and I believe it stars Alexander Skarsgård and Harry Melling, who again was like a breakout in Queen's Gambit, but he's also in the Harry Potter films. And Ari Aster doing another film with them, Eddington, which I remember. I mean, I reported on that when it was first announced on the channel with Joaquin Phoenix and Pedro Pascal. It's a very interesting kind of duo, and it seems like it's Ari Aster kind of taking a big swing at the political landscape, and it's gotten a lot of negative reviews coming out of Cannes. And so if you want to yell at me in the comments, feel free to do so. I've only seen one Ari Aster movie and I did not enjoy it at all, and it was Beau is Afraid. Now I know that's very different than some of the other films that came out prior. This seems like it's also a big swing in a different direction than what we've seen prior from him, but I'm interested to see, because to me, out of the three, A24 surprisingly came out as the biggest loser out of the three mid-majors coming out of the festival. For sure, I would say.
I think it's the other distributors came out swinging with their competition.
They made a statement.
Yeah, they came out with their wallets for sure. Like they wanted to bring really big films or very personal films, highly regarded films. I like that they are distributors that don't focus on just the director and they focus on the stories in that sense. I like that they give a spotlight to indie, and A24 they're trending in a different direction where they have a lot of indie films but have bigger actors in them. I feel like there's only a handful every year from them that have like nobody in it, or it's a very new director in that kind of sense. Like they are primarily acquisitions in that kind of way. Like I don't know the actual numbers. I'd be interested to look at the stats, but I feel like that the lesser known talent and lesser known directors are not their big staple anymore for their brand, which is fine. And I'm all about it. I think that they still put out great work, but Neon and Mubi, I feel like almost all of these movies that they acquired this festival are pretty fresh faces. Or, you have Panahi, who is like an established guy, but he's a very original story. So they're more focused on the narratives, I would say. A24 is kind of like, I think they're getting big enough now where they have to make their money back and they have to have a bankable actor and that kind of thing, among many other factors. But I'd have to look at it again in a grand scope.
Yeah, for sure. Well, there's an article that I also checked out before we started recording. I have it up right now. It's the Cannes Critics Survey from IndieWire. And 48 critics that screened all these movies at Cannes gave their top 5 best films. We've talked about all 5 of them. Have you seen this list?
I haven't
yet. All right, so I'm going to read it to you because I'm just giving you the lay of the land coming out of the festival. But all films we've talked about. Sirat was voted the #1 film out of the festival. Wow. So good call on that, Zach, because that's one you said is high on your list. It Was Just an Accident that won the Palme d'Or was #2. Sentimental Value #3. Sound of Falling is #4, and The Secret Agent is #5. 4 of those 5 films also made it into the best screenplay for the top 5. As well. So there's a lot of really good potential coming out of Cannes with this lineup, I would say. I'm sure you would agree, Zach. There's a couple other ones that are lower on the list that actually are from these bigger directors, like you kind of just alluded to. Honey Don't is the next film from, it's Ethan Coen, correct? Ethan Coen. And then The Phoenician Scheme, which is going to be hitting theaters worldwide. It's limited this weekend as of this recording, but it's June 6th. Is the next Wes Anderson movie. Listen, Zach, we did Drive Away Dolls.
I was not pleased with that, man. And I was gonna say that's like my first thing is I am skeptical. Not fully. I do really love the Coen brothers. I will show up for anything that they are doing. But Drive Away Dolls was a little too far down the indie route, and the screenplay needed to get nailed tighter for a lot of reasons. And I really like, though, I thought Margaret Qualley was great. She's going to be very good for a long time. And so I'm excited that she's kind of beginning to team up with Ethan Coen now. And I like what they have going for them so far. They also have Chris Evans. They also have Aubrey Plaza. Apparently there have been receptions that like there's a lot of standout scenes in the film that were taking people like by surprise in a good way and that kind of thing. So I just want it to be a good rebound from Drive Away Dolls. It just has to be better than Drive Away Dolls for me, and I'll be happy.
Okay, I think that's fair. The most intriguing thing to me about that, and I agree, Drive Away Dolls was not a great watch. Chris Evans, after kind of being in a lot of slop post Marvel, is now doing a Celine Song movie and an Ethan Coen movie this year. Now, in my opinion, I'm sure you would agree, the best thing he's done post Marvel has definitely been Knives Out, where he's working with a great director in Rian Johnson, and he's getting an opportunity to show off his acting techniques. Because I do think Evans is a talented actor.
You didn't like Red One?
I did not see Red One.
I didn't either, and I didn't need to.
I don't think anybody needs to see that movie based on what I've heard. But that's what I'm intrigued about, because he's obviously going to be the co-lead of this movie, or at least the male protagonist in this film. And then with Celine Song's Materialist coming out in June, it's him, Dakota Johnson, and Pedro, who's like the star of the week. You know what I mean? He's been the top billed guy now in a lot of things. He's going to be in Fantastic Four. He was just in Last of Us season 2. So I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued with Honey Don't. I don't know if I'm going to be rushing to the theater coming off of the experience I had with Drive Away Dolls, but I'm going to kind of wait and see what the critics say, and kind of see what they're saying. If it has more of a mixed reception, then I think I'll go in with more of an open mind. Phoenician Scheme, I'm a bit disappointed in, because I know that Wes, they said it was him going for darker material. I've loved what I've seen from the trailers. Michael Cera, it's exciting to see him work with Wes. Benicio, I love in pretty much everything I've ever seen him in, and I love his collabs with Wes. Was that one for you that you were a bit disappointed to see that some people weren't taking to Wes's latest film?
Yeah, actually, believe it or not, Liz was the first person to tell me that it was getting mixed reviews.
Oh,
so
Liz!
I know it's on Liz.
Well, Liz is a big Wes fan as well, but
yeah. So we all had mixed reviews on Asteroid City too. So that's another one where, like, I didn't hate Asteroid City. I thought it was better than Drive Away Dolls, but I do think that it needs, Phoenician Scheme needs to hit a certain threshold narratively for me. Asteroid City just didn't do it with compared to the rest of Wes's work. And hearing that the reviews are already mixed, I heard it was something closer to French Dispatch, where there's a lot going on, but it's a little uneventful.
Okay.
I think that Wes needs to like dial it in and focus on the actual structure of a story, instead of just these like fables that are like 4 acts and like this person's over here doing this person's doing that. It's like, yeah, this is great, but if Benicio can carry the movie, which I think he can, it's really just going to come down to the screenplay. Benicio is also like not really hot take, but like he's in like my top 5 like actors.
He's
like,
underrated.
my favorite.
He's underrated,
100%.
man.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't get enough. I think he hasn't even been nominated for an Oscar. Or maybe he's only been nominated for one.
I think something with Traffic, and I'm almost positive he's had 1 or 2 noms. I don't think he's won off the top of my head. But
you know what? We're wrong. He has won an Oscar.
He did.
He did. He's been nominated twice.
Okay.
And he won for Traffic. So
okay,
you are
it's Traffic.
But no, to just for reference, he has not been nominated for an Academy Award in 21 years. This guy is one of the finest actors working. 100%. He wasn't nominated for Sicario, which I remember was like a crazy thing, but he's only been nominated for Traffic and 21 Grams. So
wow,
that's what he's been nominated for. Since then, he's done
a lot of
other fantastic work along the way.
But he's also had a very mixed bag of his career too. Like I remember watching No Sudden Move, which was a Soderbergh movie. Had him and Don Cheadle in it, and that was like a recipe for a win. And the screenplay just kind of like dissipates for me. And they were great in it, but the movie was kind of like not fully there. So I think he's really just gotten a poor luck of the draw recently. So I'm really happy that he's getting a lead, let alone in a West movie, because he's kind of had his like major cast, like Bill Murray and all of his other company. I'm surprised that he was the lead for this for that reason, but you know, I trust him wholeheartedly in anything that he's doing.
I agree. His storyline in French Dispatch was actually my favorite too.
Yes.
So I'm excited to see him, like you said, get a lead opportunity with Wes. But is there anything else that we haven't covered that you wanted to touch on?
I think that's pretty much it. I checked the list again. And there were a lot of other like documentaries and some other films that I didn't hear a lot of buzz about, but they sounded very interesting. I just don't know if they're gonna get distribution in the States. But yeah, I mean, I feel like we covered a lot of the biggest ones. There was a lot of really cool, very mixed bag of like diverse group of stories too. So I'm excited that this is all gonna come out slowly throughout the year, in between all the blockbusters and then in between all the other things that were already planned on the timeline and that kind of thing.
Yeah, the only thing that I just realized that we didn't have a chance to talk about a lot, but again, none of these films were picked up for distribution. Hopefully they do, because I'm really curious, is we get 3 directorial debuts from people that are more often seen in front of the camera. So we get The Chronology of Water, which is Kristen Stewart's directorial debut. We get Eleanor the Great, which is Scarlett Johansson's directorial debut, and Harris Dickinson's Urchin, where he makes his debut as a director. So all these films I've actually heard a lot of really good things about The Chronology of Water, and I could see that being one that gets scooped up from a Neon or a Mubi or an A24 later. Eleanor the Great, I know it's a lot more of a lighthearted story. It's led by June Squibb, who's in her either late 80s or early 90s. So ScarJo's going for more of like kind of pulling at the heartstrings. I've heard that Harris Dickinson's Urchin might be the strongest of the 3 for someone of his age to kind of take that on and do something like that is exciting to me. So that's kind of the only thing that we didn't have a chance to touch on, and I wish we had more time to, but excited to see a lot of these movies. I think it's going to be an interesting award season. And though we didn't have a chance to make it to Cannes this year, hopefully maybe next year, if you guys are watching, please welcome us. Welcome Culture Wave Media. We'll take the flight to France. We'll find a way to get there. We'll figure it out.
We'll get suited up. We'll tux up.
Yeah, we'll put on a tux. Zach looks great in a tux.
Hey, we all look good in tuxes and dresses.
Thank you, Zach. I appreciate that. But let us know in the comments, what do you guys think about all the stuff we talked about with Cannes? I would love to, if you guys could list out, if you're watching this, list out your top 5 most anticipated movies out of Cannes. We'd love to have a conversation with you guys about that in the comment section. So please leave a comment. Let us know your thoughts. Give this video a like if you guys can, and subscribe to us here at the Culture Wave Media Network. Hit that bell. You can check out a bunch of other stuff that we're doing. And we are covering a major film festival soon. We're going to be covering the Tribeca Film Festival in just a couple weeks in New York City. So keep your eye out for that. I'm also going to be covering the Lighthouse Film Festival in LBI, Long Beach Island, New Jersey, next week. So we'll have more stuff for that for you guys as well. Plus our regular reviews of television and movies. We have reviews up now for Lilo and Stitch. We're going to have reviews up for Mission Impossible, if it's not up already. Karate Kid Legends. The Last of Us, we just wrapped up. We're wrapping up the studio. So there's a bunch of stuff for you guys to check out. You can also follow us on social media. All that stuff is below me in the video, and it's also in our YouTube description. So just signing off, I am Darian Scalamoni.
I'm Zach Miller.
And we'll see you guys next time.
This is The Culture.